If you're tired of not making progress and you're ready to be the artist you know you're meant to be, you're in the right place. You're listening to the Singer's Path podcast. The Path, or Performing Artists Training Hub, will cover everything, including singing tips that actually work, advice from top industry professionals, and life-changing mindset shifts. Out with the starving artist and in with the thriving artist. I'm your host, Sarah Bishop, professional singer, actor, educator, and entrepreneur. I'm not afraid to speak the truth and stop the gatekeeping of quality information so you can actually become the artist you dream of being. So let's get on the path, shall we? Even though we're all on our own journeys, it always helps to have a guide.
Hey, what up? It's me, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us. Kudos to Amanda, the audio editor that I just mysteriously talked to that no one knows who that is, for swapping out the music. We got a high vibe going on here, so thank you. Things are shifting. I'm getting clearer on how I want to present this podcast. And although we talk about some sensitive stuff and like stuff that, you know, maybe has a like more mellow vibe, and especially as we kind of pivot here into the winter seasons, the darker months, we're going to be pivoting into kind of more of those touchy-feely bits. However, you know, my vibe is kind of cray, you know, and so I'm just fully leaning into that. And you're going to see, especially after that, oh my God, after that voiceover episode, holy Lord, I was cringing so freaking hard about posting that. And like, who knows, maybe you hated it and you never want to listen to this again. And to that, I say, okay, that's probably fair. Just don't leave us the nasty review because then that's rude. But I will say, I was cringing so hard, but I was like, let's do something different. Let's do something fun and weird. And the podcast is really my space to really let loose. I feel like it's easier for me to kind of just show up as myself and be really authentic and honest here. And that can be a little scary and a little risky. And, you know, sometimes when my wild, crazy brain has ideas that maybe we shouldn't do, hey, why don't we take a bunch of scripts from AI and do a roulette around them? That'll go well. Sure. You know what? I listened back to that and I listened to it with my husband and my other friend, and it was actually quite funny to me. So at least it delights me. And if you absolutely hate it, then don't listen to it. I am rambling about an episode that is not even what we're doing today. So I digress. Today, different topic. We're going to get a little bit more into the nitty gritty of voice, right? I kind of alternate between other subjects and things that are a little bit more fun or interesting, or, you know, other break-offs of specifically singing. Like voiceover work is kind of a tangent to singing. It's a side job that a lot of people have. Sometimes we talk about auditioning, sometimes we bring on other friends and we talk about stuff that's completely different. So we're going to pivot back to the more technical work, getting you more of those vocal results. And today we're really going to focus in on the 7 things that I learned after I became a teacher that really shifted my viewpoint on singing. And I learned through experience and I learned through my training, and actually solved a lot of problems that I was dealing with as I was trying to DIY my singing journey before that. And I want to take a quick pause here in the episode to announce something that will ultimately be really linked to what I'm going to talk about here today. And I just want to say, I know the ads are absolutely batshit crazy because I've been trying to have more fun. Y'all, it's hard running a business, okay? It's really easy to slog in content, and even letting you guys know about sales that are going on. Like, it takes a lot of energy. And so actually my business coach was like, hey, just do something weird. She was like, hey, you're going to Italy with your husband. Okay, I followed him on a trip there. He was working and I joined along for funsies, and we saw a lot of Renaissance art. So let's pause. I'm going to let you know about this litty deal that's going on right now, and then we'll resume the episode.
Hear ye, hear ye. It is that oh so special time of year where we bundle high-quality singing resources for you at a fraction of the price. The Renaissance Bundle is now available until October 14th. Last year, you had to wait until Black Friday to get deals this good. Well, dear, since you've overcome the Black Death, Christmas has come early this year. The Renaissance Bundle is packed full of singer resources that will completely equip you with everything everything you need as a Renaissance singer. This bundle includes the most monumental Singer's Path programs, Discover, the Pillars series, and Advanced Mix. And the best part? You will save over $300 on this special sale. So take advantage of this very special sale while it lasts, dear. The Renaissance bundle is only available until October 14th, 2025. So go to the link in the show notes or go to sarahbishopvocalstudio.com. Give yourself the tools to become a master of your art. And now I will finally cease speaking to you in this tone, and we will get back to the episode.
So now that you know that I'm institutionally insane, that's the deal that's going on, folks. And today we're actually going to talk about, when we're breaking down all of these things that I've learned, we're going to kind of talk about how the whole purpose that I make courses at all is literally to help parts of me that were going on my singing journey. And what's cool about this Renaissance bundle is, and I know the Renaissance is like, why the fuck did you pick Renaissance, Sarah? Well, because there was this thing that we knew in high school called it's just a term. I learned about it in high school, but it was called the Renaissance man or woman, who they, them, who knows, but the Renaissance person. And it's basically like this well-rounded individual who is a master at doing everything, like Leonardo da Vinci, right? But they were completely versatile and capable. And when I was in Italy, I was like, you know what? Actually, what having all of these courses, Pillars, Advanced Mix, Discover, having all of these things, which are going to last you like years. Like you can, like, it's an investment, but first of all, it's $300 off, like you heard in the ad, and it will last you for years. Like you use this over and over and over again. But anyway, having these materials, like, is incredible because it really does do that. It creates that versatility. So anyway, I might mention that again as we're kind of going through here and kind of point you in the direction of how some of these solve some of these questions that were solved in me when I became a teacher. But I just want to let you know that that's going on and that you only have, again, you heard the ad. I'm not gonna repeat myself. Shut up, Sarah. Okay, let's move on. So let's dive into the 7 things I learned when I became a teacher that rocked my shit. That rocked me, and not in like a fun way. First of all, and I've talked about this, you probably heard me talk about this on here, but you know what? Repetition is important. Y'all know you need to hear the same message at least like 7 times for that to stick. But here's the biggest one. And this one rocked my world. I've talked about how I was so rocked that I was actually angry in the moment. And I've actually witnessed this in other students when I've done this for them. But the first thing that completely transformed my shit when I was moving from singer to teacher was the concept of vocal balance. I know we've had whole episodes on this. I'm not gonna drone on it too much, or maybe I will. Who the fuck knows? But the concept of vocal balance, that didn't exist to me. I was like, who's she? What's that? You mean I can get all my notes to sound and feel the same and even, and I don't feel like I am jumping a giant fucking hurdle at 2 sections of my voice? What do you mean? I had spent years actually trying, as a professional singer, trying to cover up pockets of my voice. It was 2 modes, full send belt or light falsetto shitty time, okay? There was no strong middle, and I was running into issues like professionally. Like, again, I had that work session. They were like, can you mix this? And the answer was, no, I can't. Okay. And literally, like I said, I've said this before, but like the term mixing used to trigger me when they'd say, can you mix it? Just put it here. Da, da, da. Like no one could help me. And I knew it was an issue and no one fucking helped me. Not my fancy BFA. Well, it did help me a little bit. My teacher there was a good teacher, but I also maybe wasn't receptive to listening to what the fuck she was talking about. It's partially my fault. But to the point, until I joined IVA and like finally figured this the fuck out, like no one could help me, and I still had no fucking clue what mix was. And it pissed me off. So the concept of vocal balance, which really is what mixing is, vocal balance though is a type of mix that's very neutral. It's the most like easy blended one. I don't know. Some bitch like made a fucking stitch of me once being like, okay, saying mixing is blended and that it's not mixing literally is garbage, you piece of trash. And to her, fuck you. She was such a mean asshole. She made us. Okay, I'm getting sidetracked. Anyway, there was a troll once that made a stitch about she didn't like the words I used. And I was like, I'm sorry, Debbie. Get off your high horse. Anywho, what was I saying? I got distracted by Debbie. You know what? We're going to reclaim our power from Debbie. Debbie, you don't have control over me. I'm clearly delusional this evening. Anyway, okay. So, I was talking about why vocal balance is mixed, but like this actually will lead me to the second thing I learned. But vocal balance is actually like the middle ground sound. So it's like I can get evenly from chest to head, but it doesn't like, it's not dominated by one color or another, right? It's actually, in my opinion, your most authentic, easy, healthy sound. It's the sound you get with like the least amount of effort. Okay. And it takes effort to find it, but once you drill it in and you get it there, it's like your best fucking friend. It feels so good. Guys, honestly, that's why it pissed me off so much. I was like, this is available to me this whole time. What do you mean? What do you mean? Where was she? Until I was, 27 when I figured that out? You know what I mean? Like, I was like, WTF? What happened to her? Why did she show up to the party so late? Okay, so that was the first thing. Okay, that this even existed to me and that it was so important that it was the thing I was going to return to. Okay, the second thing I learned, which ties into this, the reason I couldn't find my vocal balance. Why am I on this accent kick? Sarah, stop. There's a reason I don't get hired to do accent work. But the second thing I learned, and the reason why vocal balance was a fucking anomaly to me for so long, was because in order to be on balance, you have to recognize you're off balance, right? If you're trying to do a pirouette and you're like, why am I not doing it? But you keep falling over and you're not acknowledging, hey, you keep falling over and your foot's sickled and you're slouching in your shoulders and you're not holding your guts in. No wonder you're falling over. Like XYZ reason is why you are falling over, right? Then you're just going to be whining and complaining about how you can never pirouette, right? That was a very strong dance analogy. So if you don't know what that means, that's okay too. Okay. However, right, I don't want to be harsh here because it is a little it's entitled when you go, why isn't it working? And then you're not putting in any conscious effort at all. That's actually entitlement. When you're lost because you don't know why it's working and you're frustrated as fuck because you've never found anything that actually points you where your blind spots are and you have no way of helping yourself, that's not entitlement. I feel fucking bad for you because I was you. And that's why I made Discover and Pillars, because those things do exactly this, right? So in order to get on balance, you have to know where you're off balance. You have to know what to listen for. You need to know what to assess. And we talk about in Discover specifically, which is the long masterclass where I talk about these tools that top voice teachers know in order to actually help you, right? I'm teaching you to be your own voice teacher and help your fucking self with Discover. And then Pillars gives you it actually manufactures the tools because it's a lot of information. It's overwhelming. Hey, you can just put on the workout and just do it with Pillars, right? So instead of curating everything yourself, right? Pillars gives you the goods. But anyway, when you need to learn what people listen for to detect how it's off balance. Like, how do we even help ourselves? Like, we as the singer know, hey, this sound feels and sounds like shit, but why? Right? So there was, up until that point, there was no one telling me how to do that. I just knew that the outcome was wrong, but there was no internal understanding of how to shift it, what to pivot, what tools were at my disposal, what the fuck people are hearing. I used to think voice teachers were goddamn wizards. I was like, I don't know what they're hearing. I don't know. But when I go to my lesson, they fix it and then it's fine. And then I leave my lesson and I still don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Right. So that's what Discover and Pillars does, is it teaches you to hear your own voice, assess it, and then it gives you the things, right? You're noticing you're off balance. It shows you where you're off balance. It shows you where to target your voice. And then it gives you the tools to get on balance, okay? You have to do something to get on balance. You can't just will it there, right? You have to condition your voice so that you're able to make this balanced sound, right? And that balanced sound is the foundation. It is the holy grail for singers. I swear to fucking God, okay? Because that brings me to my third thing. The way to also do what a lot of singers have the goal of, I need to find my true sound. I need to find my authentic sound. What is my sound? Hey, the way to find that healthily, consistently, that's going to be your most resonant, ringy shit, that is the most efficient use of your instrument, is by finding vocal balance. Okay, that is going to be the thing. Discovering that, strengthening that is going to show you a lot of different textures. It's going to show you all the tools at your disposal. It's going to get you to feel good about your voice and want to explore it. But then you always have balance to return to, your ringy, beautiful fucking sound that just comes out effortlessly out of you. That's what that is. That's what mixing is, right? It's just blending and being able to play all your notes evenly and well and feel fucking good about it. That's what mixing is, okay? The other thing, and this is kind of like 3, 4, I don't know, it's kind of 3. The other thing about vocal balance is that your needs, right? Your balance is gonna change. So this is the other thing I hate about other online resources and why Pillars and Discover are so lit, which, by the way, as Pillars still continues to exist, I fully plan on even adding to it even more over time, to continue to give you like even more combinations of ways to work on these things and rebalance. But for right now, it definitely is everything you need. It's just like I overgive and overachieve. But that's the thing. It's like I want you to be able to use Pillars like for fucking ever. Okay? Like it follows you through the changes of your voice. So when you start to balance, right, you're going to inevitably kind of balance a little too far and end up in the opposite direction, right? You're going to do the same drills and you're going to sometimes like overdevelop or you overdo, or sometimes tools don't work anymore. No one fucking told me that when I was a singer. It was always like, oh, I went to my lesson and this is the exercise that works for me. No, honey, that's the exercise that worked for you that day. Like, if you've ever watched on TikTok the videos of me balancing myself, I talk about this all the time. I'm like, hey, like this particular tool worked for me then. And then you kind of grow out of that habit, right? My vocal habit used to be gradual flip. I ain't that anymore, honey. I'll tell you that. Sometimes I'm weighty, but most of the time I'm a manipulated larynx now. So most of the time, I actually am pretty balanced. It's just my jaw and my tongue are doing the most. But that is what happens when you grow. When you grow and change, you're able to bebop back and forth, boom, bing, bing, bong, 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 between habits. You're going to flip-flop. And that's why people are so frustrated, because they're like, why isn't this working anymore? Well, honey, your habit changed because you were working out the one thing. Sometimes, and I'll probably talk about this in a different episode, but sometimes you can, like, even being part of a show for a long time, I kind of talked about this in like the Pro Problems episode, you can condition your voice to have new habits based on the score that you're singing all the time, right? Like when I was singing, I sang a lot of opera last fall into the winter. And then I turned around and did like the belting series. Those are like two extreme types of singing. That's another thing that I learned that I'm going to talk about here in a second. But like when I was conditioning myself to be singing opera all the fucking time because I was like working on something, then I started to develop some habits that kind of brought me off balance. So when I was like warming up and reconditioning and getting ready to belt, I had to change my exercises in order to get me to like kind of my neutral spot, what felt good, what was me, what was authentic outside of style and adding things, right? I had to get myself back to that place before I could pivot again and do another extreme style, belting. Which, by the way, this leads me to was this 4 or 5? I don't fucking know. The next thing I learned, okay, of the 7 things, okay, was that contemporary and classical singing are super different. They are to me. And I guess I have to talk about this from my perspective and my body. Like maybe you don't agree. Sure. I'll give you that. Okay. But I will say I was more of a classical singer, even though I'm like a musical theater girl. Like my instrument is more naturally good at singing classically. And let me tell you, they are so different. You cannot fucking go in and sing. You cannot go in with pure opera technique and try to expect yourself to sing Kelly Clarkson. And I know most of you know that because you're trying and it ain't working. It ain't working, okay? And we're going to have a whole other episode. And I've talked about this in the belt episode, but there'll be more belt episodes coming up here. Literally, you do not need the same kind of pressure balance. Your vocal folds, the closure, the depth of the vocal folds is different. And, the way to be able to detect that is, again, drilling balance. So the middle ground. And then you also know, because you've worked on your voice and you can get to balance. And by the way, the more you work on balance, the more you develop your voice, actually, the quicker you get to balance. So then, like now at this point, I don't have to do the same exercises that I was doing a year ago to get me to balance. I pretty much am there as my go-to, right? That's the goal. You want balance to be your go-to, and then I can choose if I want to sing Galinda, or I can choose if I want to sing Elphaba. Those bitches sing completely different styles, right? You cannot go in to them with the same attitude and the same vocal ingredients, the same acoustical and physical ingredients. They don't sound the same. There's a reason. That's because you're doing different things to get those sounds. But this is the other thing. No one fucking showed me that. I just was winging it, okay? But as a versatile person, as a versatile artist, that's why I call it the Renaissance sale. It's showing you versatility. It's giving you control and power over your sound. I know there are bitches out there that are listening to this. I know that's all what you want. I know you want to be able to play your instrument the way you want to, in any way you want to. I know there's a lot of you that you've been studying for years. All you want to do is feel like you're a master. Right? That you really understand the tools that are available to you, that you understand the potential that your voice has, okay? And what's also part of the bundle besides Discover and Pillars is Advanced Mix. Now, Advanced Mix is the course that, like, hopefully you're already familiar with that kind of middle ground feeling. Advanced Mix is the one that then teaches you to sing more classically, more that head dominant style, or the chest dominant mix, which is more like mixed belting, right? Or pop, right? If you want to think about like literally musical styles, like chest dominant mix is going to be mostly pop, folk, or sorry, well, there's some folk probably, but pop, country, rock, that vibe. There's some head dominant choices within those genres in musical theater, right? Just like how there's like head dominant singing musical theater, the contemporary musical theater scene's very chest dominant right now. The other half of the course, which I made it, like I did not do it like Pillars where you could a la carte get like head mix, whatever. I did group them together because I believe that the cross training between the two and having both of those are going to actually give you more color. And I think because Advanced Mix is advanced, or just for people that are like ready to sing more advanced things and have the tools necessary to safely belt their score, for even if their community theater is doing Shrek and you want to belt Fiona healthily, okay, you do need both, because I think in an advanced course, when I'm trying to teach you the different extremes of mix, you should have both, right? So that's why that's not a la carte. You do have to get them together because you need to cross-train and understand the two different ingredients. That brings me to the other thing that I learned. Mixing, like, and this is why I used to get so triggered, right? As a singer, not teacher yet, I thought mixing was like its own pocket of voice, right? It's like own texture. And a lot of people talk about it like that. Like, just put it in your mixed voice. No. When I started training and understanding vocal balance first, if anything, I would view vocal balance probably as like what the people are talking about is put it in your mix. That's actually vocal balance in my definition in my book. You can mix in any way you want. You can mix with the other color, right? That's what Advanced Mix teaches you. That's what I'm saying. Mixing is non-negotiable, guys. Non-negotiable. If you want to have a healthy, even sound, non-negotiable. Now, the only time mixing isn't necessary is if you want to yodel. If you want to yodel or you want to fucking hurt yourself. Yodeling won't hurt you, but if you try to pull through or you use your voice in an inefficient way for too long, that's actually how people end up getting injured. They get tired. Their voice is not functioning efficiently, right? Vocal balance is efficiency of the instrument. So if you're not balanced, you're not working towards that, right? That's actually where you can run into problems, unless you're doing it on purpose to yodel like our dear love Chapel Roan, right? You should be able to choose whether you want to be balanced or not. I will say the one downside of balancing so much is it is harder to find a yodel again, because basically you're evening out your breaks. And the reason I might do a whole episode on this, but the reason that voice teachers are so obsessed with your breaks and your passaggio, whatever you want to call it, is because that's like the hardship of most singers, is like either leading up to the break and getting through the break, feeling light over top of the break. And in the way that I teach, there's actually multiple breaks, right? Classical breaks are from, if I'm going to talk about a soprano voice, for example, or it would be, they would train the break being like EF4, versus what I teach is like, we don't start that break until A4 to C#5. And then you actually have other shifts that happen in your voice, which is the second passaggio, third, and the fourth passaggio. So we break it up in bigger chunks in order to zoom in and work on it a bit more. And again, that's explored in both advanced mixed pillars. So if you decide you want to get the Renaissance bundle, like all of that's kind of taken care of in there, and there's stuff for all of those things. But anyway, yeah, that was huge. That was a big deal to learn, because, you know, when you isolate, and there's like famous singers and people like this is all about language and understanding how do you get something that is just explained to like physically happen, right? And even super famous singers like Lauren Allred, who sang Never Enough from The Greatest Showman, once like commented on my post saying that she believed this, like her mix was just a section of her voice. And I was like, you know, part of me was like, whatever you're doing, baby, it's working. You know, I wouldn't necessarily say that, but if that's what that feels like to you, good for you. All power to you, honey. But it's all about, like, she clearly sounds incredible. I would say she's a good mixed belter, right? And then she kind of chooses to sometimes do head dominance, or she might even flip on purpose and not blend. But that's how I would kind of how I would constitute her sound, is chest dominant mix. It's fucking fabulous and so good. Do you know why it's fabulous? This brings us to the next point of things that I wish that I knew before I was a teacher. And that is that if you don't know how to do this, okay, like I said, mixing and vocal balance is kind of non-negotiable, okay? If you don't learn because you're like, I'm just going to wing it, or like, I don't want to lose my sound, or I'm afraid of becoming a cookie cutter singer, or whatever, okay, cool. You may suffer the consequences down the line. Hate to say, okay, because your voice is not being used efficiently, that's when you can wear it out. Okay. Now, some of the coolest voices aren't necessarily perfectly balanced. Okay. Some of them just stay in their vocal range of their lane. Like, think about Adele. She doesn't go much higher than like a D. Okay. That's what she does. Okay. Versus like someone like Beyonce, who clearly is very balanced and can get all the fuck over her range. Okay. So it also just depends on the artist. Like, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I am going to say, if you want health and longevity to maintain your sound, you do need vocal balance. Okay. And if you don't have it, the other consequence is when you're especially trying to belt, like, you need to belt on top of a mixed configuration, right? If you don't, and you're trying to go high, you're gonna yell, it's gonna pull, and it's gonna feel like shit. Okay. You can get away with chest belting up to about maybe a B flat B for my higher voices. Like, guys, you could probably yell your way up to a G4. Good luck. Okay. But after that, it's gonna hurt, and it might warp the sound, and it might go flat. So there are consequences to not knowing how to blend somewhat. Okay, you got to blend somewhat. That's what vocal balance is. That's what mixing is. And you have to learn to more or less thin appropriately, even for the style that you want. No matter what, if you're going from the bottom of your voice to the top of your voice, you have to go from a thicker position to a thinner vocal fold configuration. You have to. But that's the tricky part, especially about mixed belting, when it sounds so powerful and y'all are trying to do this. You're trying to just blast air and blast your sound up on those top notes. But it's a different coordination than chest belting down low and pulling, okay? I'm using some of these words, and if they don't make sense, again, another reason to go get the Renaissance bundle. Basically, if you've been trying to sing the high Kelly Clarkson shit and you can't do the Since You've Been Gone or Behind Those Hazel Eyes, and you feel like you're about to die, or you do sound like you're yelling and your sound is warped, and you lose your voice after doing it once, honey boo boo girl, you are doing what I'm saying. You are not mixing. You are not getting efficient vocal quality. The cool thing about learning it in the order of get vocal balance, then learn chest dominant, then learn head dominant, right? Use pillars, then use advanced mix, is that you actually will start to be able to learn the physical coordination that gets you the acoustical result. Say it with me again. There are physical coordinations that match an acoustical result, but it's not what your brain initially thinks it's gonna be, right? We hear that it sounds, as the audience, we hear it sound a certain way, and our brain goes, oh, I'll just yell. No. That's not how it works. That's why you're going to be set up better for success. If you work on vocal balance first, you got everything lined up, you know what tools are available to you, and then you can shift. And you learn the little itty bitty shifts that make a big difference in sound to the audience. Okay. Anyway, that is huge. So I labeled a couple things that I didn't know until I was a teacher, but like belting is selective, actually. And most of the time, you should be mixing. And I know that might trigger some people. That would have triggered me. And that's okay if that triggers you. However, it is the truth. And again, I don't mean you need to do a wimpy, shitty head mix or a weak mix. That's not actually a good mix. That's not vocal balance. If you were truly vocally balanced, you should be able to easily open up into a belt. A belt, especially if it was from a chest dominant place, right? You should be able to tweak it a little bit, know what to do to tweak it a little bit, and be able to cry and open around it, and then achieve that belt sound in a lot easier and maintainable way. And it'll probably sound better because it'll be in fucking tune and it won't be warped with too much bass quality and pressure because you're blasting the fuck through it. Now, again, I want to say, like, if your instrument sounds cool as fuck doing that, like, good for you. Like, I don't want to limit your colors and abilities. And there will be sometimes that we purposely come away from like a perfect, like, there really is no such thing as like a perfect sound. There is such thing as a balanced sound, and there's such thing as chest dominant and head dominant, but that exists on a scale, right? It's like a range. And you can go to the extreme and do something crazy for a sec if you want, but you better come back. You can't stay there for too long because, again, that's what's going to blow you out and like kind of damage your instrument over time. So it's okay to dabble in the extremes, do something that's a little crazy and scream a little bit for reals. Fine, but you need to recondition and like cool yourself down and return to vocal balance again for that longevity factor. Because I want you to be singing for a really long time. I want your voice to be heard by all the people that you want it to be heard by. The seventh thing I want to share with you that I did learn when becoming a teacher, and I know it's a little bit of a pivot, but it has to do with the vocal health stuff, is that there is such a thing as just too big of a vocal load. I think sometimes as singers, and definitely as teachers, like, we feel invincible and we want to help as many people as possible. But the truth is, like, we are human beings and there's only so much we can do. So if we want to maintain the longevity and health of our voice and our gift and our musical instrument and our ability to create the sounds that we want in a sustainable way, you do have to monitor how much you're pushing yourself to do, right? Y'all know you could do a 3-hour set and exhaust yourself. Okay. But I mean, like, over a long time, like even saying yes to too many vocal projects or even cross-training in extremes, too frequently. Okay. It's like, you have to treat yourself with like absolute TLC, tender love and care. Okay. Because these are really tiny little muscles. And yes, we can build our vocal tolerance and resilience and be like fucking rock stars over time, but you have to condition to get to that point. Again, another reason to have these lessons in pillars and advanced mix to train for that. But like, there is such a thing as too much, right? Your body can only do so much. And I learned this the hard way, actually, after teaching for a few years, because I was trying to do it all. You know, I was auditioning and I was trying to record music and I was teaching like 8 hours a fucking day. And that's just too much talking. Even if the singer's the one doing most of the singing, like, I'm still like constantly engaging. I'm demonstrating. I'm doing things incorrectly on purpose to show them what not to do, and then I'm doing it correctly. It's just too much, right? Talking too much, talking too loudly. And most of the time, like, vocal fatigue and overuse will come actually from talking and not from singing. But if you're in an 8-show week schedule and your score is really intense, like there is such thing as overuse. Like that's why sometimes you hear some of these vocal athletes get injured because maybe they get sick on this overuse schedule, and then they're in trouble and they have to do things, they have to take a break, and then people judge them, and that's shitty. And but all this to say, vocal injury can be prevented, but sometimes it's like, if you're playing games leading up to the Super Bowl, you're going to be, in pretty rigorous training, and you're going to be playing some tough games, right? So like if you're on a holiday schedule with a show or something, or, you're touring, like sometimes even the vocal load you're given is a lot. So then just taking time to like take the space in between shows to really rest and really take care of yourself. For if you're a teacher listening, you can load up on too many students. I'm so blessed that I had so many people that wanted to work with me that I was literally teaching 40 hours a week, which is fucking insane, by the way, to be like having that much engagement with people. That's also why I don't teach one-on-ones anymore to the public. I burned out so bad that I was getting sick, and like that's also another reason why I had to shift to group, because I really still loved teaching, but like I just had to change it because I was gonna destroy my own instrument if I was gonna continue to be a professional artist and teach. So if you see teachers online who like don't offer private lessons and you're like, what the fuck? Like if you listen to me and you're like, why doesn't she have a private license? I do, but it's closed to the public. I only offer it to very, very, very rarely, and most of the time just people that have a really intense project. So like they're going on tour, or they're they're on Broadway, like training for a role, or they have an album that they're going to release. Like, so I don't talk about that. But I had to shift the way I do one-on-ones. And that's also why I have Lily and Jeremy, because they're at a point where they have space and time to do those. So if you want that one-on-one attention, Lily and Jeremy are awesome, and they're very affordable and are available to you. But anyway, there is such thing as too much vocal load. That is the thing. So I learned that the hard way, and that's why I had to pivot to really save my own voice and my own energy and my nervous system, because it was too much. So you can do that. I didn't end up having a vocal injury. I was just really fatigued. And so I was able to recover it because I pulled back and changed. So just know you can pivot too, if that's your case, if you're dealing with that. But all that to say, these are like the 7 things, I mean, probably 8 or 9 or 10 things that I labeled, but those are all things I didn't know. Like I wasn't going to know until I trained my own voice to balance. I worked with people, and I really kind of got over myself and was honest with myself about the habits that I had before that were leading me to the place that I was at, right? And in the way that I kind of transformed them, it was everything that I learned that I put into Discover Pillars and Advanced Mix. Like that's why the Renaissance Bundle exists. It's because I really needed that earlier. I needed that. And it's really meant, it doesn't matter if you're even an intermediate singer. If you're a very beginner singer and you need help matching pitch, you got to check out a Pitch and Musician. That one's for you. But even intermediate singers can get, or even beginner singers, like if you can match pitch and you are confident that you're singing the right notes, you just need help with technique. Like the Renaissance Bundle is good for anyone, any level that it needs to work on balance and then needs to learn to belt and do head dominant stuff. It's really cool. I'm really fucking proud of it. And it's insane. The price you're getting it for is actually fucking insane. Because again, this information, I think I calculated it all up as to like what I paid for it and like what it's worth. It's literally worth like $8,000. Like I'm not fucking kidding. Like that's what it's valued at. I typically sell it for over $1,000 if I was to group it all together like that. It's worth more than that, but you get the Renaissance Bundle for $677. That's insane. That's fucking insane. So, all that to say, I know that's still a large chunk of change for people. I'm not going to make something for artists that I don't think is going to be worth your money, because I know y'all work hard. I get it. I was fucking right there with you, cater waitering, nannying, doing stuff. So like it would not be an integrity to even sell anything to artists that I didn't fully believe in and know works. So there's also, if the pay in full option's obviously the cheapest one, as far as like you're not going to have any interest on the payments or anything like that. It's like going to be the most efficient use of your money. However, if you don't have the funds for that, that's why I partnered with Afterpay and Klarna to make that easier to afford. So I think you can even do it as low as $47 a month. Like you can make it work in any way. And I know at that point I could have made $47 a month work. I want you to guys sometimes ask yourself like, hey, I spent $6 on a fucking latte today. $6 every day. That's $180 for a month. If you do that, that's your habit. Hey girl, you spend $200 a month on lattes, okay? And I'm not trying to like money trip you here. But if you're like, oh my God, that's a big price, girl. This shit is worth it, okay? But anyway, I really think you're getting over $300 off of what it's usually marked at. And again, it's actually worth thousands of dollars. So yeah, please help yourself. Take advantage of those things. Again, I know some of these episodes I kind of am really leaning into the thing that my studio is offering at the time, but I'm leaning into it so that you know about it so that you can take advantage of it, because sometimes people ask me and they're like, is there a sale coming up or is there da-da? And I'm like, hey, listen, there's pockets and you would know about them if you're on my email list. And if you listen to the podcast, right? And actually, you actually did know about this sale a little bit earlier than everybody else, because I like to do the exclusive things straight to my podcast listeners and to my email list. I love doing that because I think that people that are like, loyal and really good listeners should be the ones to learn about it first. So anyway, if you know a singer that you would benefit from this, cool. If you're down with my vibe, that's also cool. Share the podcast with people. Again, if you like this, I hope you gain something out of this, because I truly, I only share this information because I'm trying to help people be less miserable than I was before I had to pay fucking thousands of dollars to learn this information. But if you do enjoy listening to this, make sure you leave us a 5-star review on the Apple podcast and take a screenshot of it and send it to me at singerspan@gmail.com. And I love seeing, first of all, I love hearing from you guys when you email me. Love it. 2, I will enter you to win a free voice lesson with me, which I said I don't teach voice lessons often anymore privately. So big fucking deal if you get one of those, because they're great. We get to kiki, and I'll help you find vocal balance, and do whatever you need to do. I was going to draw that for the first time at the end of September. It's actually September 28th when I'm recording this, but I think by the time this comes out, it'll be October. I'm going to wait until after the Renaissance sale. So after October 14th, I will draw that name probably before the end of October and do that first drawing. And again, if you leave a review on any of the products, you actually get entered for more drawings and you get kept in the pool. So actually, while the show is smaller, you have a way higher chance of getting drawn to have a private lesson with me if you do it early. So anyway, yeah, I hope to connect with you. I hope you leave us a review, and I hope you take advantage of the Renaissance bundle, because again, this was actually our Black Friday bundle that we did last year. But I was like, you know what? Christmas comes early and Black Friday is going to be lit as fuck this year. It's actually going to be insane. The new thing that's coming out is coming out on Black Friday. Guys, get excited. It's actually fucking crazy. But anyway, I will talk to you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening. And yeah, love you. Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. This helps me get this information out to more artists all over the world. Let's work together to spread the joys of music. Until next time, I'm your host, Sarah Bishop, signing off from the Singer's Path podcast. Thanks for listening.